I abandoned my family, and I am okay with it. I am sitting in my RV outside a cafe with free internet access, typing this. I have gone over this so many times in my head, but I figured writing this out could help me clarify the thoughts in my head. I abandoned my family a little over a week after Discovery Day. My wife, 36 years old, and me, 37 years old, and our daughter, 13 years old. It's now almost 6 months since that day. I discovered her affair by chance. I was totally clueless. I believed we had a good marriage. Plenty of intimacy. We would talk about stuff for hours. We had date nights regularly. We had shared and individual hobbies. We were healthy, in fairly good shape. It was good? Or maybe it was just me thinking that. My wife, let's call her Eve, she cheated, so she obviously preferred another man, not me. And if she could betray me like that, she couldn't possibly love me. Here I was thinking she was my best friend. I guess not. In hindsight, I can see that I probably saw things through rose-tinted glasses. I actually believed that my family cared about me. I believed I was loved. I was the fool, I guess. I came home late from work. There was a safety training seminar I had to attend. She was sleeping on the sofa, and a message with some emojis popped up on her phone. Emojis like I would use when I message her? What the heck? I snooped, and I found out what had been going on for at least 5 months. I knew the other person involved. Let's call him Adam. He was a work colleague of hers. I had even been to a barbecue at his house and met his family. He was married and had 3 children. The youngest, just 2 years old. While reading the messages, something just snapped in my head. It fundamentally changed me. Over the course of reading their messages, I went from loving Eve more than anything to hating her, to just going blank. Not just about her, but everything. Totally numb, I took pictures of the messages and went to bed. I didn't sleep at all. I just stared at the ceiling. Eve was pissed the next day that I went to bed without waking her up. She complained about neck pain from sleeping on the couch all night. I wasn't really listening. I just remember thinking how everything was muffled, as if someone had turned down the volume on the world. I was kind of surprised about how little I cared. I felt practically nothing. I should be angry, right? During breakfast, I didn't say a single word. My wife and daughter chatted away. They didn't seem to notice anything different about me, or even acknowledge me, but I definitely didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was someone new, someone I didn't know or understand, wearing a suit of the old me. I went through all the daily motions. I went to work, did all the normal stuff. The only difference is, I sort of stopped talking. Sadly, I realized that nobody seemed to even notice. It's like I wasn't even there. I started to understand that Eve and my daughter didn't really love me. I was in the house with them, but unless they wanted something from me, they didn't really interact. They talked at me, not with me, if that makes sense. I would get these pangs of pain. They would come and go. Sometimes they would overwhelm me completely. I was not okay. I walked around like this for 5 days before Eve asked me if something was wrong during dinner. I had maybe uttered 3 words in total to her and my daughter in that period. I didn't even answer her question. I just made an "I'm okay" face, then continued eating. She seemed okay with that. The next day, I didn't go to work. I work for the local power company. I fix power lines and such. I packed up some random stuff plus my camping and hunting gear. I didn't really have a plan. I put it in my car and walked around the neighborhood for a while. I ended up at the kitchen table, waiting for the wife to come home. She came home with a few bags of groceries. She immediately started talking about her day while unpacking. I just sat at the kitchen table in pain. She didn't even look at me, apart from one glance as she entered the kitchen. My daughter popped in and did the same. Their backs were turned to me, and they talked about some trivial crap on sale. I have never felt so rejected, unappreciated, so alone. I felt totally invisible, like I wasn't there, or that I wasn't worth acknowledging. I was thinking back on our lives, and all I could see was that they didn't care about me at all. They probably never did. I was an accessory to their life. I just didn't matter to them. I was a convenient and useful prop. I was hit with a wave of pain. I cried. Still, they didn't notice, so I got angry, very angry. I had a glass of water in front of me. I stood up and threw it hard at the tiles over the sink. It just exploded. Glass shards rained over everything. They both turned around angry. What the EFF? They froze, unsure what to do when they saw my contorted, tear-soaked face. It was uncomfortably quiet for a long while before I spoke. Eve, I know all about your cheating with Adam. I was surprised how clear it came out since I was clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. My daughter looked at Eve. What? Is that true, Mom? Eve started to try to explain. She briefly glanced at me and said, Sorry, I can explain. Then she turned back to our daughter and they started arguing. Again, it was like I was invisible or something. Hello, glass thrower here? After a few minutes of watching their increasingly heated argument, I just walked out and got in my car. I looked at them again through the window, still arguing in the kitchen. They didn't even notice I had left. I sat there for a few more minutes before I gave up and just drove off. It took maybe 15 minutes before Eve tried to call me, then call after call after call, then a flood of texts from both of them. I just ignored it and eventually turned the phone off. The next day, I took half of our money out and called my boss. I told him I didn't know when I would be back. He told me if I didn't show up, I was fired. I just told him okay and hung up. I just didn't care. I went to Adam's house. His wife opened. I gave her a copy of the messages and told her what Adam and my wife had been up to. I left her crying on the stairs. At the end of the day, I ended up in a cheap hotel at the edge of town. The next few days were kind of a blur while I tried to come to terms with things. I didn't make any real progress, mostly staring at the wall, trying to think of reasons not to end myself. Eve's older brother is a cop. Let's call him Bob. Bob showed up on the third or fourth day. I'm not sure. I don't know how he found me. He tried to interrogate me. I didn't say anything. When I didn't engage, he told me I was under arrest and put me in cuffs. However, he didn't take me to the station like I expected. He took me home instead. Bob dragged me into the living room where my wife and daughter immediately started berating me. Still, I said nothing. I just listened in amazement while they told me how terrible this was for them. What a terrible person I was for making them worry. It went on for a while. In the end, Eve screamed at me, "Say something!" I stared at her for a while before calmly saying, "I have nothing to say to you, whore." Bob freaked out and slammed me against the wall, screaming at me not to talk to his sister that way. I got a lot of satisfaction out of Bob's violent reaction. I don't know why, it made me so happy I was laughing. Bob's wife left him 4 months earlier. I smiled at Bob. "You're pathetic, Bob. Did you beat your wife too, Bob? Is that why she left you?" Bob hit me hard. I went down. My wife and daughter started screaming their heads off. As I started to get up, I just laughed even harder. I just couldn't help myself. I was bleeding from somewhere. I saw it on the floor. I am still in handcuffs, laughing. Maybe it was the absurdity of it all? I spat blood in Bob's face and said, "F you, Bob." He hit me again, hard enough to knock me out cold this time. I woke up in the hospital. I puked all over the floor the second I opened my eyes, so I knew I had a concussion. Eve, Bob, and my daughter were there. They were talking at me. I was too confused to make it out. A nurse appeared and asked them to leave. She got me a pan to puke in and called someone to clean. While she was taking my pulse, I told her that my family put me here and that they were not to come anywhere near me, that if they came back into the room, I would leave. I would just run away. She argued, kind of sternly, that running or even getting up was a really bad idea for me. But she would talk to security. I didn't see them again in the hospital. It was bliss. Finally, I felt a little at peace. I could think. I was thinking about maybe reporting Bob to get him fired, but it's a small town. His colleagues would probably cover for him. I considered confronting my wife, but that didn't make any sense to me either. I decided to disappear, to turn into a ghost. I wanted nothing to do with these people ever again. I made a letter to each of them. I warned Bob that if he ever bothered me again, I would report him. I told my daughter that Eve had betrayed me and that she would be without a father from now on. To Eve, I wrote a longer letter. I tried to be as practical as possible. I told her to sell the house, that I won't be paying the mortgage or utilities anymore, etc. I informed her that reconciliation, or even contact, was impossible, especially after she had sent her brother to drag me back and beat me senseless in front of them. I explained that I won't do anything for her ever again, so if she wants a divorce, she will have to arrange it. I told her I will disappear, and I don't want to be found. That if she interferes with my life again, I will simply end myself. That we will never speak again. I ended it with how much she had hurt me. I really regret giving her that last sentence. It's like I let her steal a little bit more of me, Like I let her give me a little more pain. In the hospital, I made a plan on how I could disappear. Eve gave the hospital some fresh clothes that they forwarded to me. Then one evening, I just went out the rear fire escape. I triggered some kind of alarm. I was panicking a bit, but thankfully, no one stopped me. I got back to the hotel to pick up my car. I traded it for a small RV and set off. I got a new phone. The only person I called was my father. I told him everything and told him if he gave my new number to anyone, I would become totally unreachable forever. He could call me if he needed to reach me, if I needed to sign something. Other than that, I wanted to be left alone. For the first few months, I grieved the loss of my old life, but I came to realize that I grieved the loss of a fantasy, a memory that only existed in my head. The loving wife and daughter, the family, friends. It was all just an illusion in my head. These people never really cared for me. Over time, I started to rebuild a sort of life. Only this time, I was a total ghost. I ghosted all of society. Now, I am only a P.O. box. I rent a safety deposit box to keep valuables and cash. I do odd jobs for money. I hunt and fish and scavenge. My money consumption is insignificant, so my cash reserves are actually growing. I don't pay taxes. I don't have a bank account. When people ask my name, I answer people call me Fred. It's not my name. I go out of my way to not contribute to society or anything else for that matter. I am still invisible, like I was in my family. At least now I am invisible to strangers, not people that claim to love me. And to be honest, I kind of like it now. I brew my own beer. I move around. I have no obligations. I work when I want. I spend a lot of time in nature, just relaxing. I have a few friends that I hunt and fish with. I am in amazing shape, the best shape of my life, actually. All in all, my life is getting better. At least now, no one is using me for nothing but their own benefit while pretending they care about me. I don't know what happened to my wife and daughter, my old friends, or the rest of the family. I don't know if I am divorced now or if I owe child support. I don't know what happened to the house. I don't really care. My father has tried to give me information a few times, but I shut that down hard. He is the only one I speak to occasionally from my old life. I feel free, relaxed, content, I could say happy even. I don't have much, but I don't need much. When I get to the end of the line, I will sell everything and burn the rest of my money. I will make sure there is nothing of value left, nothing left to remember me by. Then I will walk into a national park without anyone ever knowing and disappear forever. Sometimes I go to shopping malls, train or bus stations and just observe the people. There, I see them, all the men like I used to be. The men that are sacrificing themselves to a society and families that don't give a damn about them. Men that work themselves to death without any recognition or gratitude from anyone. They are guilt-tripped, pressured, and pushed to always make more, sacrifice more. More and more pointless nonsense. Brand clothes, bigger house, more this, more that. Never even getting a thank you, no form of gratitude or appreciation. In most cases, not even a smile. They try to fool themselves, just like I was, refusing to recognize reality. But I see it in them, just like I used to. Deep down they know. I recognize their empty million-mile stare. I used to have the same one. This felt nice to get off my chest. First update. As I was reading yesterday, I started to experience something similar to the day I tried to confront Eve. The world got muffled, feeling disconnected, etc. In short, I was not feeling well. I felt I needed to log off. I called a hunting friend and asked if he could come over. We talked on the phone until he arrived, and the first thing he did was to confiscate all my ammunition. So, he was pretty worried, I guess. He called my dad and stayed with me until he arrived. I have moved to a different city, so that took over 4 hours. We talked and discussed many of the comments that I found distressful. I can't really remember any details. It's kind of fuzzy. Long story short, Dad arrived and he took me to see a doctor. As a result, I have been committed to a psychiatric facility. The doctors suspect that I suffer from emotional and psychological trauma, probably depression as well. Apparently, the numbness, extreme desire to self-isolate, strange reactive behaviors like laughing at being beaten, feelings of nobody loving me, feeling undeserving, reclusiveness, etc. are pretty clear indicators according to the doc. I don't know, really. I will have to wait for more diagnosis. I have no idea what they will do about me, or if they can even do anything. I hope to talk to my daughter in the near future, if the counselors say it's okay for me and her, and if she wants to. My dad has talked to her a bit about the situation. He tells me that she loves me and asks for me. I guess many of you were right. I am a massive piece of shit. My dad is with me for now, and I will be monitored 24/7 for the next few days. They tried some medication, but I had a very negative reaction, so they will try something else tomorrow. Bob somehow found the post and apologized. Eve hadn't told him the real reason I left for the hotel. She had just told him about the glass in the wall, leaving the rest out. Bob told me he had informed his superiors of what he had done when he found out. According to him, everyone that should be has been informed. He was suspended and ordered to undergo anger management training. If I submit a complaint, he will be dismissed. He has prepared a full written confession and all the paperwork for me if I choose to do so. All I need to do is read it, and if I agree, to sign it. If I choose not to move forward with that, he will be allowed to continue his work with a pay cut and a demotion. But I don't know what to do. I think I will just focus on me for now. I feel kind of broken and lost at the moment. So I need to figure that out first. I don't know anything at the moment, to be honest. I felt I needed to make an update to thank everyone. You helped me accept that I needed to seek help. Maybe I will post an update in the future. Update 2. I guess this is kind of a positive update. I've been out since Friday morning. I have been receiving a lot of therapy and am doing much better. I have daily treatment but no longer need to be committed. I suffer from the after effects of emotional trauma and have mild PTSD. My behavior has naturally been off as a result of this. I have been in intensive therapy and am receiving some medication. I only take the pills now and again at this stage if I feel overwhelmed. I still get these waves of pain that hit me, where the world goes numb, but it's less frequent. Some of my behavior, especially the isolation, probably made things even worse for me. I have talked a lot to my daughter. She tells me she has forgiven me. She never meant to make me feel unappreciated. She loves me. The first few days, I didn't actually believe her. But once I got some perspective, I realized this doubt was all on me. I have apologized more times than I can count. She started telling me to stop apologizing, actually. She has moved away from her mother and is living with my brother and his family at the moment. She gets along really well with his kids, and my brother has told us that she can stay for as long as she wants. I am in no condition to be a full-time parent at the moment, so for now, she will stay with them. My brother has arranged therapy for her, and I will do my best to be the best father I can be from now on. My wife, Eve, has also moved out of the house and is living with her parents. My father has been paying the mortgage for me without me knowing, so the house isn't sold yet. I am not looking forward to going back there to all the memories. I have decided to sell the house and downsize to a tiny home and live a life closer to nature with less stress. I will try to rent or buy a plot of land and live as simply as possible, at least for a while. My daughter loves this idea and has been researching tiny homes like a pro. Adam, the other person involved, is trying to reconcile with his wife and has cut Eve off completely. Eve has been to my dad's house almost weekly, begging for him to contact me and let her talk to me. If what her mother tells me is correct, Eve lost her job and is in a terrible way. Barely leaving her room at her parents' house, she is shunned by pretty much everyone, according to her mom. I have found a lawyer today and will start divorce proceedings as soon as possible. I bought a whole case of my hunting buddy's favorite whiskey and spent Saturday night there thanking him. He is a true friend. He probably saved my life. My wife's affair completely broke me and my family. I was so broken I couldn't even see it myself. It was actually all the harsh comments here on Reddit that got me to accept that something was seriously wrong with me. I would not have asked for help if I hadn't been pushed to a point where I started to break down. Up until then, I was sort of holding myself together by convincing myself that I was doing better. But the truth is, I was hanging on by the tiniest of threads. So once again, thank you, everyone. Edit. I forgot to tell you about Bob. I called Bob's employer today and pleaded Bob's case that he continues as a cop. Bob visited me on Thursday. He had prepared all the paperwork for me to file a complaint against him. He made no excuses. He admitted his behavior was completely out of line. He apologized for losing his cool and acknowledged that it was entirely his fault. He pushed me pretty hard to file against him, actually, but I have been thinking about him. I have seen him throw himself in the path of a punch to protect an old woman being attacked. I know a lot of his colleagues, and they always talk about how he will always go that extra mile to help someone. I found out why his wife divorced him as well. Bob doesn't make much, but he donates 10% of his salary and volunteers 3 days a week to help the homeless. Apparently, his ex found this to be unbearable. Bob refused to stop helping, so she divorced him. Bob is a good man. He lost control one time. I lost my way for over 6 months. I am happy to take a beating to make sure a man like him can continue to do good. He took me to see the homeless people he helps today after I insisted, and he needs to keep doing what he is doing. Update 3. I have received a lot of therapy and I'm fairly stable now. My daughter is doing well too. However, I am a different person now. I have a hard time trusting people. Apart from my daughter, I prefer solitude and generally maintain a very low public profile. I don't know if I would say something is broken inside me. I guess you could say I am broken compared to who I used to be, but I am not unhappy. I'm perfectly okay as a partial loner. I'm just different now, I guess. The house is sold, and I bought a tiny home where my daughter and I live. It's not a tiny home like you see on TV. It has 2 separate bedrooms and a combined living room kitchen. It's in a secluded location on a forested hillside and has a porch outside as big as the house, with a wonderful view. I absolutely love the tranquility and the close proximity to nature in our new home. I am divorced, or almost divorced. It's just waiting for the formalities now. The expected time frame is 3 months. My soon-to-be ex-wife has been begging me a lot for a second chance, almost daily, but she has not demanded anything from me. She doesn't try to excuse herself. She owns her affair. We used mediation and she has given me basically everything, all our assets, and full custody. The only thing she has asked for is to be allowed to visit often so she can try to repair her relationship with our daughter. She has offered to cook and clean as well. But I don't want to feel like I owe her anything. I will keep the household operational. It's tiny anyway. And I need some chores for my daughter. I don't want her to grow up to be spoiled. My daughter and my soon-to-be ex-wife's relationship is very, very strained. We will have to see how it goes. For those who want to tell me this is a ploy to try to get back with me, don't worry. She is not sneaky about it at all. She has told me straight out that she hopes we can find a way back together and that she will make efforts towards that. If I put up boundaries, she has promised to respect that, so I am okay. From my perspective, I have told her I want closure, but there is no way of repairing our relationship. We will be co-parents, that's it. I have insisted on split custody since it's cumbersome to undo full custody after the divorce is final. Now that I can think straight, I want our daughter to have a relationship with her mother. I have forgiven her and moved on. I will live my life as I see fit from here on out. As for the assets, I will give her half at the last minute or directly after the divorce. We built up these resources during our marriage, so it's only fair she gets half. But I really want to see if she will go through with it, actually giving me everything. She is very remorseful, and I find it helps my healing. My soon-to-be ex-wife is still struggling. Some would say she is an absolute wreck. She is going to counseling. We all are, including family therapy for my daughter's benefit. I am determined to try to make up as much as possible for my daughter for my mistake. My daughter is very sharp. I believe she has forgiven me, but she watches very carefully how I act towards her mother. I am determined to be a good role model, so I will act exemplary. When I posted, I was in a really bad place. Thankfully, I was naive enough to post on Reddit. I don't even know why I posted, to be honest, but I got some much-needed feedback that sort of snapped me out of it. It's been incredibly hard to deal with the aftermath, but I am finally starting to stabilize. Even if our family and marriage are destroyed, we will be okay in the end. Story 2. My wife, the sex worker. My ex and I met in college. She was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. She always had a crowd of guys following her around. I had some classes with her over the 4 years, but I never pursued her because, well, of all the other guys. One day after class, she asked if I would study with her, and the rest is history. So, we married, starting our careers in the same industry, albeit at different companies. It's a male-dominated industry. I found immediate success while she struggled. She changed jobs in the first year and continued to struggle. In the 3rd year, she became pregnant with our first son. She worked through the pregnancy. A few weeks after giving birth, during a routine physical, her doctor asked to do a biopsy of her cervix. The results came back showing precancerous cells were found. The doctor advised that if we wanted more children, to do it as quickly as possible as this condition would progress, and a hysterectomy would eventually be needed. So, when she was up to it, she became pregnant again. She gave birth to a boy within a year of each other. Afterward, more tests were done, and different doctors advised to proceed with the procedure now, as we should not wait. With 2 babies, still infants, she had her procedure done. She was heartbroken that she was done having children, as we had wanted a large family. She poured herself into being a great mother, and she is. She became a stay-at-home mom, SAAHM. She took care of everything at home. Meanwhile, my career was moving along. I was offered a position with another company with a large salary bump. Life was good. When the boys went off to school, she volunteered at school and was a fixture there. And I should mention that we had close friends we went to school with, A and B. We saw each other often. They started their family about the time we did. They have 1 son. The families went on vacations together, dinners, outings. We were best of friends. After the son was born, A, the mother, went back to work and is very successful. B had a good job also until about 2001, when his job was eliminated. He struggled to find work in his field, as the economy back then really affected his field. So, the decision was made that he would be a stay-at-home dad, SAHD, while looking for work where we lived, as they did not want to move. The X and B did things together with the kids. When the kids were all in school, they still hung out. You can now guess they had an affair. This story, I know, is long, but not over. After about a year of this, hot sex in the AM, B asked my ex if she and I had ever talked about a threesome. It was all fantasy talk with us, as we were still having a great, if not slowing down, sexual relationship. B had a friend he wanted to bring into the bedroom with them. The ex agreed. The day came, and this guy, C, came over to B's house. He took his suit off as my ex, and B got warmed up. So, they had their threesome. Afterward, the guy told them that he usually had to pay for sex, so he left a couple of $100 bills and asked my ex if he could have a one-on-one with her. She told him she needed to think about that, and B would get back to him. Eventually, C recommended someone else, and a business was born. Eventually, B was reemployed and had to leave my ex on her own. She used a different cell phone and rented out a storage unit to serve as her closet and office. She used the money to buy outfits her clientele requested. She even bought a car, as she did not want her minivan spotted at a hotel. The clients had to pay for a room at a nice hotel. She kept the car at the storage unit. Everything was paid in cash. She never brought the money into our lives, as far as I know. Though, we would send the kids to different day camps during the summer. She claimed she tightened our budget to pay for it. She only worked during school hours and always picked the boys up from school. On a few rare occasions, B would pick them up and keep them until she got home. Our home life never suffered. I admit I was working a lot and moving up the ladder. The weekends were our family time. Sex was generally on the weekends. I thought this arrangement worked best due to my work life. Most nights, we would cuddle on the couch watching TV. Almost done with the story, 2016 comes along. We have 1 son in college and the other a senior in high school. I get a call from B. My ex is in the hospital. He was vague but said she was hurt badly. I rushed to the hospital. My wife was hooked up to a bunch of machines. They had already cleaned her up and taken her for x-rays. She had a broken jaw, broken nose, fractured orbital bone, and a possible concussion. She would make it, but it would be a long road ahead. A police officer was finishing up and left. I, of course, wanted to know what happened. She was crying, talking gibberish through her sobs and pain meds. A nurse said I should let her rest. They were moving her to a room soon. She handed me a bag with her clothes. I looked in and asked if these were hers because she never wears heels, and the dress was unfamiliar. The nurse said this was what they brought from the hotel room. So, they pushed me out of the room. I called my sons to let them know. Later that night, when the fog of the drugs was wearing off, I got some of the story. She drifted off again. I had my youngest son sit in with her, and I called B. Why did he call me? How did he know before me? What's going on? So, B came clean about what my wife was up to, leaving out the affair and his involvement. I was devastated. We eventually got her home after surgery on her jaw. The nose would wait. She convalesced at home. As she got stronger, I got the whole story. I called A and told her of the affair, and B acting as a pimp. She threw B out. As my wife got on her feet, I told her we were done. I asked her to move out. She moved in with B. I got the divorce proceedings started. I am sitting here, 5 years divorced. I still love her. It is as if she had died. The grief is unbearable. My boys know what she did. I have not spoken to her since she left. First update. I originally posted a few weeks ago. You can check my profile. I did not update earlier, as there really was not anything significant to report. That changed last night. I received a call from my oldest son, R, who is out of town for the holiday weekend. A friend contacted him to inform him that his brother, S, had been in a motorcycle accident. He was with him, but did not witness the accident as he was riding ahead. I rushed to the hospital's emergency room. They were cleaning S's wounds and were preparing to send him for x-rays. I was told to take a seat and that the doctor would come out to speak with me. A few minutes later, as I had my head leaned back and my eyes closed, I heard my name called. I looked up and saw my ex standing in the doorway. She inquired about any news. I replied that I was waiting. She asked if she could sit with me, and I invited her to take a seat nearby. I have not seen her in 5 years since our divorce. I did not know what to expect. I assumed she might be disfigured from her injuries, but she was not, though her face was not as flawless as I remembered. One thing I noticed was that her eyes no longer sparkled, a feature I had always adored. Even with a mask on, her eyes did not look the same. It's funny what you notice. When she smiled, her face used to light up. Now, I imagine she just has what some might call a resting bitch face. While waiting, we engaged in a nervous conversation catching up on things. She mentioned she liked the landscaping I had done, and how the plants, now matured, really look nice. This indicated to me that she has been by the house, even though I have no idea where she lives, and my sons were instructed never to mention her to me. During and after the divorce, I tried to erase any memory of her. I replaced the bushes in the yard, something she had planned and planted. I did not mention that I had also redone the interior of the house, even going so far as to tear down a wall. I had a construction dumpster in the driveway for many months. She asked how I was doing. For some reason, I was honest and shared that I had put myself at a standstill by working too much. However, I recently started seeing a therapist, joined a gym, and took up bike riding. She volunteered that she no longer, but left it there, unsaid. She stayed with B for a couple of months and has been seeing a counselor who encouraged her to take some college courses in her degree field. That took a couple of years. She is now employed full-time. She mentioned she has dated minimally, leaving the statement open for me to respond. I figured the boys had been keeping her updated about me, so I had nothing to add. The doctor appeared and discussed the extent of S's injuries. The most serious injury was to his foot and ankle, which were pinned under the bike when it went down. They had scheduled him for surgery today. Everything is good. He just needs to heal and undergo rehabilitation. So he will be staying in the hospital until at least tomorrow, depending on his head injury, which was a slight concussion. I offered my house for him to stay, as I have the space and can work from home. We will finalize that today, although that means his mother will want to visit. That will be a process of healing for me. Update 2. My son is healing well, though he still has a way to go. We have decided he will stay here while convalescing. He wants to return to work next week, and his boss is arranging for him to work from home. I barely managed to get him into the back seat of my SUV, as he needs to stretch out. It would be a nightmare to drive him to work and back every day. Everyone has been inquiring about my ex-partner's visits. I make it a point to leave when she arrives, opting for the gym or a bike ride instead. My oldest son has attempted to organize a sit-down dinner for the 4 of us, but I have firmly declined. My ex has been very gracious. She has not attempted to force any interactions. She visits and spends time with our son, often cooking dinner for them. When she cooks, she brings groceries. Sometimes his friends visit, and the atmosphere becomes a bit too rowdy for me. But he seems to forget about his problems when he has visitors. To say we never speak would be inaccurate. Our conversations, however, do not stray from topics concerning our sons or their lives. Update 3. This will be my final update. The doctor says my son is healing nicely, though he has a long road ahead with physical therapy. He is hobbling around but still staying at my house, working from home. I have returned to the office to give him some space. As many of you predicted, my ex has started doing little things around the house. My son isn't very tidy, so she cleans up after him, does his dishes, and even cooks meals for him, always leaving a plate for me. I've told my son that can be his lunch the next day. The other night, she asked if I would be interested in going out to dinner tonight, as my son has some friends coming over. I declined. A little later, she suggested getting a meal together just to clear the air. Again, I declined. I finally said, "We ended long ago because of your actions. It took me a long time to get over what was lost. I do not intend to revisit a relationship with you." She acknowledged my stance, saying she understood where we stand. I did mention I didn't have a problem with her visiting our son until he can return to his own place. I thanked her for cleaning up, but mentioned it wasn't necessary. I will make it through this. My heart has hardened. Story 3. Wife cheated in front of our son. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I are both 26 years old, and we have a 5-year-old son and a 10-month-old daughter together. I work as one of the managers at an IT company, while she works as a receptionist at a hospital. Her work has been sporadic due to her recent pregnancy and maternity leave. I am quite outgoing, whereas she is more introverted, preferring to spend time with close family members, her family, myself, and our children, and friends she has known since childhood. On Saturday, July 1st, 2023, a former employee from my workplace, who is 23, came to my house under the assumption that I would be present, as he knew I do not work on Saturdays. He intended to deliver important documents that I had left at his house the previous day during a discussion on work-related matters. My wife, not recognizing him, answered the door. After he explained that he worked for me, she invited him inside and offered him coffee while he waited for me. I was at my parents' house 5 miles away. This is what happened next, according to the ex-employee, as best as I can recall from our conversation over the phone 2 days ago. Employee: "Do you know about me and your wife?" Me: "What do you mean? Explain." Employee: "Remember the day last month when you weren't home, and I came to drop off documents? I'm sorry I didn't call you beforehand." Me: "Yes, so what?" Employee: "After your wife invited me in and offered to make coffee, we began to talk and quickly bonded over literature. She was very friendly. I know what I'm about to tell you was wrong of me, but we started kissing. Your son, who walked into the living room at that moment, then asked who I was. She told him not to worry and to just go watch TV. We then went upstairs and, slept together." Me: "Are you joking? Because if you're just trying to cause trouble, don't." Employee: "No, it's not a lie. I thought I should tell you because that little boy saw his mother with someone else. If you ever found out years down the line, I wouldn't want you to think I disregarded the boy's feelings. Remember, your wife is the one who is married, not me. I didn't force her." Me: "I don't believe you at all." Employee: "That's why I resigned on July 7th. I didn't know whether you were aware or not, and would rather resign than have a dismissal on my record." Me: "I'll ask her, and if it's true, I'll deal with you appropriately." Employee: "Okay, but as I said, I didn't force her, nor did I do anything illegal. You won't hear from me again. Sorry." I was livid with anger and hurt at the same time. This employee had only started working for me in May, and I am certain my wife never even knew he existed until that day. I confronted her, and she denied it at first but then admitted to what happened after realizing the severity of the situation, including the employee quitting. She said she is very sorry and doesn't understand what came over her. Upon mentioning that our son witnessed her with someone else, she began to cry. I told her that I would be staying with my parents for a few days while I decide what to do next. My parents, as well as her family members, are very supportive of me and do not condone what she did. I have seen my son on FaceTime and my baby daughter too, and I told them that I will be with them soon. I've concluded that there is no coming back from this and will definitely seek a divorce, but the only issues are custody and finances. I do not want to end up like many men who, due to their wives' faults, lose the house and only see their kids on weekends. How do I ensure that I don't lose the house and that I see my kids as much, if not more than she does? I live in England, by the way. Story 4. I found out my boyfriend cheated through the police. Hi everyone. I am a 24-year-old female. I was 23 when we were together, and I was in a relationship with my ex, a 32-year-old male. He was 31 at that time, for nearly 2 years. I believed he was my soulmate. We discussed marriage, lived together for a year, and raised my puppy together, among other things. Our relationship seemed wonderful, or so I thought, but I was completely taken by surprise. My friends often complimented how amazing our relationship appeared, noting how well he treated me and cared for my feelings. He always spoke highly of me and our relationship to others. I genuinely believed we were in a good place, but that changed abruptly the day I discovered the truth. This incident occurred in March of this year, just a day after I had celebrated his uncle's birthday with his family. We usually drove to the gym together, but that day we took separate cars because he had errands to run. I returned from the gym around 8:30 p.m. and was cooking dinner for us when I heard a knock on my door. It was unusual, especially at that late hour, and I wasn't expecting anyone. To my surprise, I found 2 police officers at the door. They inquired about my ex's whereabouts, and I informed them that he was still at the gym. They needed to speak with him regarding an incident from December. Since he had received a speeding ticket then, I assumed it was related to that, although it seemed odd for such a minor issue. The officers left their card and asked me to have him call them upon his return. After they left, I immediately called my ex, bewildered by the situation. He casually dismissed it as probably related to the speeding ticket and told me not to worry. However, moments later, he called back in a panic, upset that I had apparently told the police his location and questioning what I had disclosed to them. I was confused and upset. His story wasn't making sense. Our conversation ended, and I was left both confused and worried. I texted him, pressing for an explanation, but he went silent for about 20 minutes. Concerned, I drove to the gym and called him, telling him I was outside and that the police had left. He eventually came out and got into my car. I demanded to know what was happening. His response, as he looked me in the eyes, was chilling. "Do you really want to know the truth?" I felt a sense of dread. I urged him to tell me everything. He confessed to having an affair with a 17-year-old girl he met at a tanning salon near my house. They had met before our trip to Mexico in December 2021, where he had gone to tan. He claimed he was unaware of her age, but I find it hard to believe, considering both her youthful appearance and mentality. I hadn't seen any evidence of cheating on his phone, which I had checked once around that time, and I had been confident in our relationship. Never did I imagine he would betray me like this, especially given his past experience of being cheated on and the pain it caused him. I was devastated. He had hidden everything and never intended to tell me. Had it not been for the police and the girl's report, I might have remained oblivious and even married him. His confession left me in a state of shock. I was hysterical, crying, screaming, and feeling utterly numb. The following 4 months were filled with depression, weight loss due to lack of appetite, sleeplessness, and withdrawal from social activities, including the gym. He had done this just days before our Mexico trip with his family, acting as if everything was normal. I couldn't fathom his ability to betray me, and then pretend nothing had happened for months. It's been almost 10 months since that day, and I'm still struggling to move past his actions. I've attempted to date again, but my trust is severely damaged, and I've erected high emotional walls. I recently started therapy to address this trauma. I'm hopeful that I can heal and move forward with my life. First update, 1 year later. So for the past 1.5 since the breakup, I struggled because I did not find closure. Why would he do this? Why wasn't I good enough? How could he do this to me? Etc. His story wasn't making sense either, so I felt like I could not have closure because I did not know the truth. Well, he was sentenced last year, May 2023. I have the truth now, and it's more disturbing than lies he told me. As soon as his trial was over, I looked up the court documents. I read the victim statement and I cried. I cried so hard because I was sexually assaulted when I was 20, and I unknowingly dated a predator. First off, the girl was 16 and not 17 like he claimed. The girl did not know my ex other than when he was a customer at the tanning salon and they just did small chat. After one of her shifts, he followed her into a nearby gas station. She went inside to get some things, and he followed her inside the building. He continuously tried to talk to her and get physical in the middle of the gas station. He asked for a kiss, but she said no and went back to her car. He followed her into her car and opened the door, and that is where he assaulted her. He felt her up, exposed her body, did things with his mouth, and so on. In the middle of the gas station, with a effing 16 years old. After that encounter, she called her sister crying whilst having meltdown, so her sister came to get her. The sister was a witness and attested to it. The gas station had camera that caught him following her, but the cameras outside did not catch the act he did inside the car. He was sentenced with 5th-degree non-consensual sexual contact. I think he was only in jail for a week, but his probation is 4 years and he cannot have firearms. He loves guns and is a hunter, so at least there's that. He did not have to register as a sex offender when he 100% should have, but mommy and daddy got him a really good and expensive lawyer. I spoke with his ex, who he was with a few months after our breakup, and she told me she caught him Snapchatting teenaged girls, and also caught him talking to them when they would go to the gym together, and this was while his case was ongoing, so man has not learned anything at all and is still acting like a pedo. I finally have my closure. It was a him problem all along. Story 5. Wife is pregnant, baby might not be mine. I'm not entirely sure why I'm sharing this. I've been consuming a significant amount of alcohol for the better part of today. So, if my coherence falters, you'll know the reason. I am a 40-year-old male, and my wife is 38. She has consistently been clear that having children was not in our future. Although I desired to be a father, my love for her surpassed the longing for parenthood. We met when I was 20, and she was 18, and by the time I was 22, we were married. Coming from an affluent background, her parents disapproved of me, believing she had married beneath her social class. A few months back, during a visit to her parents, her father presented her with a new car. Her family's wealth is substantial, and given the trust I had in her, I didn't question the gesture. After all, she has been receiving gifts from her father for years. Why would this be any different? However, a couple of weeks ago, she revealed she was pregnant, and I was overjoyed, happier than I've ever been. But the joy was short-lived. A friend contacted me, claiming he saw her with her sister's husband while she was visiting her parents. She hadn't mentioned seeing him. Their interaction has always unsettled me, but I reassured myself with the thought that she chose me over him. The photographs my friend sent altered my perspective dramatically. They depicted a couple exhibiting a level of intimacy typical of those who share a deep connection. The images captured them in tender moments, her looking at him with an affection I believed was exclusive to me, his fingers entwined in her hair as he kissed her. It appears he may have been the one to gift her the car. I confronted her, inquiring about the nature of their meeting, but she denied seeing him. She insisted that their relationship was merely cordial. I showed her the photographs and asked her to leave our home. That was a week ago. After some reflection, I realized the timing could imply that her sister's husband might be the father of the child. Today I broached the subject of a DNA test, but she vehemently opposed it, appalled at the idea of subjecting our unborn child to such a procedure. Without confirmation, I cannot accept the child as mine. This entire situation has led me to question our marriage and her honesty throughout our relationship. I now wonder about the true origins of the numerous gifts she's received over the years. Have they all been from her father, or has she been unfaithful in exchange for material possessions? Have I, in essence, married someone who betrays her vows for material gain? I've shared the incriminating photographs with her sister, not out of a sense of righteousness, but driven by a desire to inflict pain on my wife and her sister's husband. On Monday, I plan to consult with a lawyer to initiate divorce proceedings. I apologize for any confusion. My emotional and mental state is fragile, and alcohol has been my recent solace. First update. It has been nearly 10 days since I last communicated with my wife. She has attempted to reach out with text messages and voicemails, but I've remained unresponsive. My stance is clear. Until she consents to a DNA test, there will be no dialogue between us. I spent the holiday season with a close friend who offered guidance on navigating my future. Reflecting on my early 20s when I engaged in rowing and boxing, I've decided to revisit these activities. Moreover, I am committed to abstaining from alcohol for the foreseeable future, acknowledging its detrimental impact on my mental well-being. Next week, I have scheduled appointments with both a lawyer and a therapist to ensure I'm prepared mentally, emotionally, and legally for the challenges ahead. Regardless of the outcome of my marriage, it's imperative to understand my options and potential repercussions. My sister-in-law and I have had several conversations, and she is embarking on a similar path, planning to initiate divorce proceedings in the new year. Given that she and my brother-in-law have a young daughter, their situation is bound to become complex. Should the paternity test reveal the child is his, they will face their own unique set of difficulties. My feelings fluctuate between desiring the child to be mine and hoping otherwise. If the child is indeed mine, Fatherhood awaits, albeit amid complications. Conversely, if the child belongs to another, it could mark the end of this chapter and the beginning of a fresh start, despite the profound sadness at the thought of her bearing another man's child. Should the child not be mine, I contemplate relocating, possibly seeking a work visa in the United States, transferring to a European branch of my company, or embracing a nomadic lifestyle to travel the globe. Although my future plans remain uncertain, remaining in the United Kingdom seems unlikely. If the child is mine, the situation will undoubtedly become more intricate. I have yet to discuss these plans with her, as she currently does not feature in them, a stance that may change, but remains unlikely at this juncture. This update may not be what some were expecting, but it accurately reflects my current state. Another update will follow if she agrees to the DNA test, though that prospect seems slim at the moment. Final update. It has been nearly 6 months since my last update, and significant changes have occurred in my life during this period. I accepted a temporary transfer to a northern branch of my company, a move that proved beneficial. The change of environment was exactly what I needed, offering a respite from constant reminders of my personal turmoil. This experience made me realize my dissatisfaction with living and working in London, leading to my decision to relocate. In an attempt to distract myself, I engaged in a brief casual relationship, but it lacked substance. While the temporary escape provided momentary relief, it was followed by feelings of guilt, prompting me to end it. Significant developments occurred last week. My wife gave birth to our child and consented to a DNA test. Our first meeting in 6 months was exceedingly awkward, compounded by her parents' disapproval, which has only intensified. During the visit, as I held our baby, she inquired repeatedly if I could feel it, whatever it may be. Although I did experience a profound connection, the encounter was overshadowed by the complexity of our situation. I shared my relocation plans with her, to which she surprisingly expressed support, viewing it as an opportunity for a fresh start. Despite her assurances of fidelity, doubt lingers, leaving me uncertain about her joining me. The DNA test confirmed my paternity, complicating my feelings further. My wife envisions a unified family, but I am conflicted about this prospect. My primary emotions are confusion and uncertainty. The bond with my son indelibly links me to her, necessitating careful consideration before making any decisions. My therapist emphasizes the foundational role of trust in relationships, posing questions about the potential for its restoration, to which I currently have no answers. I am not seeking advice, cognizant of the echo chamber effect prevalent on platforms like Reddit. This is likely my final update, as I see little purpose in continuing. Story 6. Girlfriend cheats with my boss. About 22 years ago, I was employed at a packing plant and had just concluded a 4-year-long relationship due to infidelity. I ended the relationship and began dating again. At work, I met a recently divorced woman who was the receptionist. She was attractive and enjoyable to be around, so we started dating. Although everything was progressing well, I was not considering anything long-term with her, despite her hints about moving in together. During a particularly busy period at work, I opted for as much overtime as I could to earn extra money. I worked evening shifts, and my team was small but closely knit. One evening, a colleague mentioned seeing our boss's car at my girlfriend's apartment complex, which was peculiar since he lived about 30 miles away. This raised my suspicions, especially since I had worked the previous weekend, and my girlfriend had gone to a casino because I was unavailable. Curious, I visited her apartment and knocked on her door. When she inquired who it was, I responded casually and was let in, only to find no sign of my boss. Upon confrontation, both admitted to their liaison of approximately 2 weeks. My boss, who was also dealing with a tumultuous divorce, received no sympathy from me following this revelation. I expressed my disdain for the juvenile secrecy and made it clear that their relationship did not concern me, but I emphasized that this should not affect my overtime opportunities. He agreed. Throughout this interaction, I completely ignored my now ex-girlfriend, treating her as if she were invisible and mute. Despite her attempts to apologize, I remained unresponsive. In the aftermath, it came to light that my boss had been involved with another young employee from the plant. This woman, upon learning of the situation, proposed that we date as a form of retaliation, which led to an enjoyable but brief fling. At work, the dynamic shifted significantly. When my boss attempted to take advantage of an employee sale without paying, I investigated and exposed the theft, leading to his termination. Similarly, my ex-girlfriend was caught embezzling funds and was also fired. Ultimately, I was promoted to superintendent of the department, achieving a series of personal and professional victories. I ended a relationship with an unfaithful partner, enjoyed a brief rebound, exposed and eliminated dishonesty in the workplace, secured a promotion, and maintained my overtime hours. This series of events was unusually fortunate for me and felt incredibly satisfying. Story 7. You know, being in love is probably one of the most beautiful things in life, but it's also one of the most dangerous. Life is all about taking risks, I understand that. I joined the Marines as a private, and now I'm a corporal. I worked hard to get here, and I wanted to remain a Marine for the rest of my life. Or at least, I used to. Currently, I'm in a difficult situation. I married my wife 3 years ago, and at the time, I was deeply in love. Everything she did brought a smile to my face. The way she looked at me, her smile, her laughter, and even the way she played with her hair. However, now I'm unsure if I love her anymore. I was deployed for 8 months, and during that time, my fellow Marines often told me that some women only marry soldiers for the benefits, like pension payments, healthcare, education opportunities, and vacations. They suggested that wives get lonely during deployments and might seek companionship elsewhere, but I chose not to listen. After all, not all women are like that, right? But now, I'm not so sure. When I returned home, I had to endure a 12-hour flight, eager to see my family, my wife, and our beautiful daughter. Being away from my child feels like receiving a billion punches to the stomach until I can see her again. Despite this, we stayed in touch through messages. Upon arriving home, I found the house empty. I sat down and waited, trying to reach my wife by phone, but she didn't answer. There were no messages either. As I went into the kitchen, I heard thumping sounds coming from the basement. When I opened the door, I heard a man moaning. I descended quietly, grateful for our soft, furry carpet that muffled my steps. To my shock, I discovered my wife with a man I knew from high school. We weren't close friends, but we were acquaintances. I was appalled. In a fit of rage, I confronted them, giving the man a black eye and a busted lip. It wasn't a brutal beating, but it was enough. He knew she was my wife and that I was deployed. My wife screamed, begging me not to hurt him, apologizing profusely. Since that moment, the base felt more like home than my actual house, which is now filled with tainted memories. It seems my fellow Marines were right about marriage. I can't trust my wife anymore, and if we divorce, I doubt I'll ever marry again, considering my commitment to the Marines. We're still married, although this incident happened not too long ago. I regret staying with her every day. Now, when she smiles at me, I look away. When she hugs me, I barely reciprocate, and when she tries to kiss me, I turn my head. We used to love trying new foods and would travel to different states to dine at highly rated restaurants. We haven't done that since I left for Asia. I've fallen out of love with her. Whenever I mention divorce, she becomes distraught, insisting she's truly sorry and that it will never happen again. She admitted to being unfaithful 3 times while I was away, which I find hard to believe. I admit I've become extremely distant, possibly the most detached husband imaginable. She pleads with me, saying she misses our connection and regrets her mistake, but I feel nothing but distance. She has suggested counseling, but I refuse to go. I can't bear the thought of any physical or emotional intimacy with her. I'm not concerned about my daughter's paternity. She looks so much like me, sharing my ears, eye color, and blonde hair. She is my world, and I would never abandon her. She's the main reason I haven't ended my marriage. One of my Marine brothers didn't gloat or say, "I told you so." Instead, he warned me that staying in this marriage would only lead to misery, suggesting that there could be someone better out there for me. But I'm skeptical. All I want is to return to my true home at the base. But the ongoing pandemic has made that impossible. I wish everyone well and urge them to stay safe indoors.